All right, we're starting this back up over here. Man, I saw a wallet last night buy up another coin at the top on the debt screener. Absolute top of its run. Ooh, man, people buying these Solana memes at the absolute top. It's crazy. We're on day number 28 out of day 52. Day 52 is going to be on April 20th. Around April 20th is the Bitcoin halving. So be prepared. Stay tuned for that. Day 52. We did have a nice double bottom bounce for Doge around 12.58 with a target up here at 13.68. Liquidation block goes past 15 cents on the top side. Markets are going to be reacting pretty positive if Elon does the Dogecoin payments for Tesla in the next month. We had HETS had a nice double bottom as well, then bounced back up around the 25 cents range. Yes, because you're lying and creating trouble, Leighton. Go make another YouTube account since you don't want to take responsibility. Screenshot you telling people to buy Slurf at the top, and then you come in here today bragging that you sold. It's very funny. You come in here saying that Michael Saylor's dollar cost average is much lower than reality because you're ignoring the wash sale. And you're always creating trouble in here. So there's no room for that. I'm focused on trades, making money, and presenting the truth with market data. And just like to argue. I'm going to pull up those cells from Saylor before because you have to calculate that in the factor. And the news, you're gonna have trouble finding that in the news as well. But go make another YouTube account, Leighton, because you already messed up that identity. All the Bitcoin that they bought before selling the bottom, they're trying to take that out of the factor of their DCA. And the only way to do that is if you get rid of the position completely and open a new position. Otherwise, it still should be calculated in. Otherwise, it's a lie to investors. And look at the loan collateral as well, the cost of the loans. Like, he doesn't even have the money. The money's not there. If the money is not there, is the Bitcoin really there? You know? But let's see if you guys, why don't you guys go long Michael Saylor's stock if you think he is making so many good moves in the markets? You think his dollar cost average is what he, the link in Google that you see? If you think that's his real dollar cost average of the Bitcoin in the wallet, go long his stock. See how that treats you. I'm not going to touch the stock though, because look at this. We're going to go over here. We're going to see what investors think about MicroStrategy. I think this is TradingView. Look, Snap also. Try to warn people about Snap that it's probably going to rug. Look at that. Big drop. Let's go to MSTR, MicroStrategy. Look at this thing on the hourly. This thing is bleeding MSTR. Markets were not even open yet, and this thing was bleeding pretty bad this morning. Look at that. So let's see what Tametheark had to say about this stock, MicroStrategy, in the Discord. Tametheark put a red block for MicroStrategy at 1683. And now the current price is at 1327. This was on 315. Today's 319. In just 4 days, look how much value it lost in 4 days. This is what happens when you give a man money on a loan and he buys the Bitcoin tops. I think someone should contact the news to bring up his dollar cost average is not being calculated directly. They're missing all the Bitcoin cost in the last bull market that he bought at tops and tried to do to wash out the bottom. That DCA did not change. So, I don't know. Someone go check on Michael Saylor because billions of dollars getting wiped away today. Billions. Billions that are not coming back anytime soon. Someone got to his head talking about the pre-halving. Is there anybody in Discord that would be willing to buy Bitcoin at $67,000 right now at this given moment in time? No, nobody would buy 67,000 because price is lower. And don't give the argument that someone did an argument before that Saylor has to pay those high prices. He doesn't. There's other wells trading that use limit orders and they don't just do market buys. You don't have to do a big market buy to come in and get it. Unless someone's forcing your hand, denying you the loan while they're selling their customers' bags to you. But if I'm wrong about MicroStrategy, why is the stock down so far?
Would you buy Doge at 17 cents right now?
I would not buy Doge at 17. But going back in time, I would buy Doge at 17 at that day, hoping for a breakout. Doge is different than Bitcoin, though. Doge is very different than Bitcoin. If you look at the charts, let's put them on the weekly. So
very different. You got 3 people running that coin.
So if you look at Doge, it's very far from all-time high. Bitcoin already made a new all-time high. So that's the big difference. And Elon was in the call the other day talking about taking Doge payments for Teslas pretty soon. He said that specifically, and the video went viral. That's what pushed it back up above 18. But buying Doge at 17 is probably less likely of a bag holder than buying Bitcoin above 70,000. Because some of those Bitcoins were bought above 70,000 for the DCA of 67,000 for his last buys.
I got some Doge for sale at 17 cents for you.
I'm not going to buy your Doge at 17, but going back, I would have bought Doge at 17. But if Doge breaks back above 20 and comes back to 17, that might be a good buy as well. But the thing is, Michael Saylor, he had the cash. He had a lot of extra cash when Bitcoin was down here at 16,000, 15,000. But he sold the bottom to repay a loan to a company that was going bankrupt because they offer him a discount on paying that loan back cheaper. And then he had to buy the Bitcoin up higher prices. And the reason he's buying these tops, they look like tops to us. He thinks it's going to go to at least $1 million. But this is all the data we have access to. We don't have access to the future data. But because of that, the investors of MicroStrategy, it's a vortex. And you guys think that he bought 67,000 when in reality the cost is 4 times higher. And you don't know how to calculate how the cost is 4 times higher. Let me explain. When you do a 4-to-1 loan, and then your stock price goes down in value by 27%, and Bitcoin price goes down by 27%, it's going to be a vortex. They're both going to go down because nobody that loaned MicroStrategy money probably going to loan them more money again after these types of events. They may have a period where they cannot repay loans for years. I think they have favorable terms for their loans, but still for years. And when they put up Bitcoin for collateral, if they cannot repay some of those loans over time, there's going to be some of that Bitcoin getting sold into the market by the people they owe the money to. And it wouldn't be a problem if they bought it with their own money, right? So when I'm trading my Dogecoin with my small wallets, I'm not moving the markets. It's not that big. But when you have a company like Michael Saylor bragging about getting 1% of the supply, and if there's a default on his loan or something, it would move the markets. 1% dump would send the price under $10,000 on a market sell. But they're not all at the same loan periods. So that they're not going to market sell all at the same time. But it is very sketchy. But Rob, I trust you. You're one of my friends. If you need a loan sometime, because I've seen your trading style. If you need a loan sometime, I would loan you money for the 4-to-1 collateral because I know you're not going to buy the tops. But Michael Saylor, seeing him buy Bitcoin above 67,000, seeing him brag about buying Bitcoin near all-time high, it would be very sketchy loaning him money 4-to-1 because you may never get that money back.
Yeah, how is he going to pay back?
Well, that's the thing. When the MicroStrategy stock goes down to the floor as well, when Bitcoin's going down, he still has Bitcoin, but the value goes down drastically. I don't know how he's going to pay anybody back because his business isn't earning that much money to pay back that much money right now.
He'll post some videos saying it's going to 100K, right?
Who did? Did Saylor post videos saying that?
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what he'll probably do.
Well, I think there's a hidden war that we don't really see in the markets right now after that new rate hike in Japan. That new rate hike in Japan, oh my God. Some people are going to map that on their Bitcoin chart and blame that for why Bitcoin was dipping. I remember living in America and we had our big rate hikes before it crushed our stock markets for at least 6 months. At least 6 months for many stocks. Some stocks never recovered. Those companies are bankrupt now. That whole COVID thing in America as well, combined with the rate hikes, put a lot of businesses bankrupt. Never, ever recover. If it wasn't for retail investors YOLOing into stocks like AMC would have been bankrupt as well. They're lucky they got saved by shareholders. People trying to go for short squeezes. That was the game plan. And some of those companies were saved, but the others where they were naked shorting them and shorting more shares than existed, they were not saved. Far from saved. We're getting a golden cross for Bitcoin here, but if you look on the weekly RSI, the weekly RSI is still curving down. This looks very bearish. It's not what you want to see. But let's do a screenshot of the weekly RSIs real quick. HETS over there actually, so HETS moves a lot faster, like 12% from that local bottom. This is the METC chart, so I'm gonna have to load the full data chart, so we have a more accurate RSI on the weekly. Because METC is relatively new for HETS. But this is what our weekly RSI levels look like. Let's just clip this real quick. Hetz is definitely more oversold. The founder of Hetz said that Ethereum Hetz is not the real Hetz, that Pulse Chain Hetz is real Hetz. So that is one reason why it's completely oversold down there. Otherwise, it would be trailing between 1 to 3 cents up here. People pulled liquidity out of eHetz, put it directly into Pulse Chain Hetz. You guys saw Bitcoin hit under $9,000 yesterday for over 300 Bitcoin on the big sells on BitMEX. You got to be careful. Low liquidity. These exchanges are going to take your money very fast if you do market orders. And it's very questionable. Some guy does a big market order for 300 Bitcoin, and all of a sudden all the buy limits are deleted or not there. It's very questionable. Where those buy limits disappear to? I know the buy limits were there before. Makes you wonder. Hats off to the people that got the Bitcoin under $10,000 on those buy limits. But unfortunate for the guy the market sold. He's probably looking at order book like, oh yeah, there's orders down here that will catch it. You can't market sell, market buy in the world of crypto. You will get punished. No, I messed up my chart. If HETS was on futures, I think the price would go parabolic. We've seen the number one ingredient for all those meme coins on Solana. They really started pushing out their futures. Like after the futures listings, that's when they really did their 10 times because people kept trying to short and it would push up higher, leg up, higher, leg up, higher. Like Slurf. Surf really did the big leg up after futures. It was at 2 cents and then ended up over $1.50 at one point before I called the resistance. I called the resistance and said it was stopping out at $1.32. So people pushing this thing from like 2 cents all the way to $1.32. Even if they got in late at 4 cents to $1.32, that's pretty crazy gains. Over 26 times their money. And then it already retraced over 46% while they were sleeping. So a lot of people waking up, maybe they're taking profits on their surf that missed out. But most of the people that do those meme coins, they don't stay in more than a day. If they can make 10, 20 times in a day with smaller amounts, they're not going to hold it longer. And they're going to keep trying to do that over and over with very small bags. What exchange is that? Bitvavo? I've never heard of Bitvavo. Let me Google. You ever heard of that exchange, Rob? Bitvavo? What?
No.
I don't know. This looks a little bit sketchy. What is this guy holding? What?
If it's a new exchange, they better be giving some good deals.
Well, someone said the orders were not executed earlier today, that they had an update.
It's a red flag right there.
Their Twitter engagement's not too high. It's they said they're in Europe, one of the leading exchanges in Europe. Yeah, it would be nice if these exchanges could do updates and not at market times where we're moving in, especially not to cancel orders. I got some news about gun stocks this morning. You guys want to look at the gun stock real quick this morning? It's both good news and bad news in a way. This is a gun stock I've been watching since about $10 This is Smith and Wesson. So you may be asking yourself why it's been coming up so much since March 7th, the past 12 days. And Rob, did you see the news about the guns this morning? Or last night?
No, I don't read too much on the news about guns, but go ahead.
U.S. District Judge Sharon Johnson Coleman has ruled that an illegal immigrant's Second Amendment rights were violated when he was charged with unlawfully possessing firearms. So
he doesn't have rights.
So now they're allowing immigrants to have firearms. These courts.
They don't have rights yet.
Well, you have human rights. You have the rights to protect yourself.
Yeah, but you said a key word. Second Amendment rights.
Right, but as a human, you have the right to defend yourself, no matter what country you're in. They're gonna argue this all the way up to the Supreme Court, probably. But the defense team successfully argued that the government failed to demonstrate how the statute aligns with America's historical tradition of firearm regulation, a requirement set forth by the Supreme Court in 2022. They contended that lifetime disarmament based solely on alienage or nationality lacks root in U.S. history and tradition. And that is pretty true. Like, our Constitution does give rights to people even if they are legal or illegal. Because remember, before, our Constitution did not give rights to women. People did not think it applied to women. But eventually courts ruled that it does. So this good for SWBI, going to get more gun buyers.
I know that our food banks in Denver are gone. They used it all. They're washing windows and people are getting pissed off about it.
Man. But this is good for the Smith and Wesson stockholders, just judgment. I mean, let's go. Even if someone's in the country illegally, they should have the right to defend themselves and their life, especially if they're not causing any trouble.
How are they going to get a gun without an ID?
They could be living with someone that has firearms. And they could use the person's firearm to defend from an intruder.
I don't even know if that's legal, is it?
It's I mean, you're not going to sit there and expect the people to die from intruders. But it's very interesting, this ruling. Because eventually, I think what they're going to do, the Constitution. Because do you know what the U.S. Constitution says?
I have a copy.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. So it doesn't say that these people have to be citizens. This is the rules for the people inside the United States. And I think some of these rights, even if someone, like people, tourists and stuff as well, they should get the same rights as Americans while they're here when it comes to your liberty and protecting yourself, defending yourself. No, they don't vote for president, stuff like that, but being able to defend yourself from getting killed, that's very important.
I thought they were trying to do that coming to this country, right?
Well, a lot of people come into the country to escape very bad conditions as well. If you look down on the map, there were some countries like in South America that El Salvador offered to go help get rid of their gangs and stuff too. They're like, oh
send
yeah.
Send them to Detroit, see if it's any nicer.
I was like, come to America. We need you in America. Get rid of the gangs in America. Well, the problem is, like, people think a lot of other... it's because we have more money, so people don't see the danger as much in America. Like, they don't have to travel as much, a lot of people. They just have to go work and go home. Most people live, like, an hour or less from their work. Not many people have to go through Detroit, Michigan, gang-infested areas to get to their work. They prefer to live in another city and state altogether. That's why you look at Google Maps, a lot of those houses abandoned.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, if we were to get rid of all the big violence in America, get rid of all the big drug dealers in America, we would be a richer country. We would have less homeless people. We would have less mental disorders. We would have less human trafficking. It would be a safer place. But there's a lot of people, they will not even come to America for vacation anymore because they think it's so dangerous. You can go on Twitter right now, ets.com, and see thousands of videos of people robbing or beating other people. And this is in America. There's probably over 100 videos updated every single day of people robbing and beating other people. Like, these guys are filming their crimes. Last year I drove through Atlanta and I counted. There was over 300 store windows busted out. Glass shattered. They had the wood up. It was pretty bad. Spray painted on the buildings. It's almost like these gangs don't want the businesses to survive there because they want the people to be poor to sell the drugs for them on the streets. And we need to classify these people as terrorists because it provokes fear. People don't want to go to those areas. And if a vigilante tries to solve the problem, he'll get put in prison while these guys are out selling dope and killing people day after day. And some of these informants, some of these guys don't go to prison because they're informants. And they're allowed to legally murder their competition or people they don't like. And they won't get arrested. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and cities are taking budget cuts too now.
Yep. DJ said he would go to national parks. Well, there are some national parks as well. It's federal property. It's a little bit different. So it gets a little bit more defense. Adam says, remember, Tame, people got mouths to feed. You ever heard about food stamps, Adam? America has plenty of money to give away for food stamps year after year. Some of those same people you said need money to feed their mouth are actually selling their food stamps to buy other stuff.
Yeah, so there's some elderly people here that do rely on some food banks, but they're coming in and taking all the food. So how's that possible? So, yeah, everybody needs food, dude.
Just Whoever because you don't need food doesn't mean you should sell drugs and kill people to get the food. Especially when you could get food stamps. Or you could buy cheaper food.
Or take from elderly because you need food.
Yeah, there are some people that abuse the system tremendously in America. They come here, they get cash jobs, they get no taxes, they get government assistance, get nice house, nice trucks. They'll be driving $50,000, $60,000 trucks and getting food stamps from one other person in their family.
You see it here a lot.
Pretty wild. But there's a lot of people that know how to abuse the system, and it's because the system's flawed, for one. And because the system's flawed, they want people like Elon Musk to give them all their wealth. Because the government also doesn't know how to budget and spend money. Like, all the money we spend on food stamps from taxes, we could have grown that food a lot cheaper and just give people the food directly and have the 2-day shipping or 1-day shipping to their house cheaper than doing the food stamps cash program and letting people buy donuts or soda or hot Cheetos
or alcohol.
Man, I see some people buying lobster claws with food stamps before and posting about it on social media. I feel like if a food, like, we need to reclassify what is food as well. Because if something's just piled together with chemicals and it looks like food, but it's not chemically sound to give nutrition, it should not be available for food stamps.
Here, here.
I agree with that.
I've been poor a lot
Yes,
before
sir.
too, Adam. I know how to buy cheaper food. I look for the cheapest food per pound that has the most nutrition. When it comes to meat, that's generally going to be chicken. When it comes to vegetables and fruits, your cheapest fruit per pound is going to be watermelon in the summertime. Like you buy a $5 watermelon, it weighs like 20, 30 pounds. That's very cheap per pound. You grind up the seeds, you get the iron, the magnesium, all the nutrients from the seeds there. You look at your vegetables, you get sweet potatoes. You know when to buy them on seasonal. And sweet potatoes, you can keep them in your house for at least a year. They're usually like 25 to 30 cents per pound in November, right before Thanksgiving. You want some more fruit, some more potassium, you buy some bananas. They're usually pretty cheap per pound. But when you talk about candy per pound, this candy is about $16 per pound when you start averaging it out for a lot of these candies. Go get your fishing license. You can fish. There's lots of man-made ponds where you can fish and get decent fish that are not dirty right now too in America. So there is that to consider. So yeah, lots of cheap food options out there that will keep you up with your nutrition. But I just thought that news was good for SWBI stock. If they start allowing like everybody to get a firearm, regardless of where they're from, as long as they have ID and registration stuff at their place, could be interesting. It would open the floodgates for more gun buyers. I wouldn't go for roadkill though. Roadkill's a little bit iffy. If the intestines splatter inside and you get the bacteria spreading around the blood, you'll have poison. So I would not go for the roadkill. Maybe if you butcher what you run over personally yourself, like as soon as you do it, but like not stuff you see laying on the road. That's not going to be good for you. But yeah, if the American courts do end up extending our Second Amendment protections to everybody that comes to America, regardless of status, it could make us a gun tourist place. People are going to come here buy guns. And then we're going to run out of gunpowder in the world. We'll have a lot of people with guns, but not a lot of people with ammunition. Won't that be something? Man, bullet prices are going to go through the roof again. Probably higher than during COVID. Is my computer not saving these files? Oh, there it goes. Oh, okay. That was on the phone. But guys, let's take a look at what happened so far in this crypto bear market. Let's go over here and let's look at some crypto stocks. Let's go to MSTR, one of the biggest crypto stocks that people know. Oh man, this thing is... Look at this thing on the 4 hour. From the top, MSTR, it's already down by over 30%. 31%, and this is in 5 days. Legacy is going to say crypto's in a bear market from looking at this probably. And when the legacy traders think crypto's in a bear market, they're probably going to start opening up more shorts. Let's look at the RSI on the weekly. Look at the RSI on the weekly. Oh man, pretty bad. Pretty bad. But if this stock comes back down under $500, even from here, at 1306 range, I gotta zoom in to get this accurately. If we go from, it's weird the lines up there. This weekly chart's messed up on Heikin-Ashi. But let's say 1308 down. Oh, this is so weird, TradingView. I have to do it on the daily. The weekly's just got the price in the wrong spot. So you go from the current price down to like $500. And that's another 60% drop from here. You go from the top up here at around 1815, or let's say 1810, don't give them that extra 5. Go down to $500, that's a 70% drop from the top. Notice our biggest sell is right here. Look at the RSI already curving down. I wish the weekly had the weekly is fucked up right here. I don't know what's happening. TradingView has a few glitches recently, like the full screen stuff. I gotta open this up on desktop to get it right on the weekly, because the price, this line bar is 1500, but the price line bar should be as it is showing on the daily and lower time frames. But yeah, this thing is coming down hard. Insiders already started dumping on you. Why does this news relate? People already started buying puts for MicroStrategy. Things down over 30%. Anybody in here know the definition of bear market? I know that doesn't look good for MicroStrategy holders. But he's not a trader. He's just an accumulator. But he's borrowing money to buy. And here's the problem. Because he's not a trader, Michael Saylor, he doesn't care about the price when he buys if he thinks it's going to go to $1 million. He's got money that day. It burns a hole in his pocket. He gets a fresh loan. It burns a hole in his pocket. He wants to spend it right away. He doesn't care what the price of Bitcoin is. He doesn't care if people are telling him the price may go down. He'll buy it. If it would go 100K and retrace to 99K, he'll probably buy it. Because he thinks $1 million.
So a bear market would be a 20% down from the top, correct?
Generally, yeah. But this thing's already down over 30% for MicroStrategy stock. And there's a lot of other big stocks that are down like this. A lot of stocks like this. The mining companies are going to take the biggest hit from the halving because they're getting half the reward. I've seen this happen with gold, and they're trying to compare it to gold until they don't want to compare it to gold anymore because the narrative won't fit. But is the news going to report that MicroStrategy is down over 30% from the top? Or are they trying to sell more bags before it goes down further? Like, name one CEO in the history of time that bought an asset at the top, bragged about it, and performed better than the market. The people that buy assets at the top and brag about it, they end up like Peter Schiff. They'll be talking about the same asset when they're 80 years old. But those guys, those Bitcoin guys, love to compare Bitcoin to gold, call it digital gold, but say it has better returns, better movements. But man, MicroStrategy is looking like a gold mining stock that just hit a very bad pivot, has a very huge cost, and it looks like they bought some new shiny equipment, and the price of that new shiny equipment dropped by over 10%, close to 20%. But we're seeing this in real time, and it's pretty cool to look at the crypto stocks while this is happening. What's up, Imad?
What's that coin on the bottom right?
Oh, click live. I'm looking at MicroStrategy chart right here. This is MicroStrategy stock. It's at 1280, and I've been trying to warn people that it's going to be a vortex when you got a company like MicroStrategy borrowing money 4-to-1 to buy stocks, shares of Bitcoin. It's going to be bad. It's going to be pretty bad. My last scalp on Doge, pretty bad. I saw the signs that Bitcoin's coming down. I thought Doge might do one more bounce before Bitcoin really bleeds down 10,000 from the top, but we're already 10,000 from the top up here for Bitcoin. But if you look at MicroStrategy, I did a chart in Discord a few days ago, just 5 days ago, and this was the price, 1683. That's when I started seeing some of those bigger sells early on. The MACD started printing more bearish momentum, where he lost that bullish momentum, and the RSI that was on the 4-hour chart already got overbought again on the 4 hours, started retracing quite hard. And the Bitcoin price was at 68,371 when I made that chart. Now Bitcoin price dropped by $5,000, and it's going to drop at least by 25%, but the stock of MicroStrategy, already looking today, dropped over 30% from the top. Look at this. And we're going to bleed down as investors panic because MicroStrategy is different than holding Bitcoin. Actually, if MicroStrategy, you compare it to Bitcoin, it's almost twice as expensive. It would be better just hold Bitcoin because then you don't have to worry about Michael Saylor buying it and where he's going to sell it. If you're a long-term holder of Bitcoin, it's better just have the Bitcoin yourself. So it only makes sense to sell the one that's really expensive and buy the cheaper one. And it creates a vortex when you do that. There's a good chart I saw on MicroStrategy about that premium because it was just overvalued compared to the Bitcoin they were holding. And the reason of that is because they bought the Bitcoin much higher than they're trying to convince you on the news today. Their dollar cost average isn't really 35,000. They did a wash sell They did a wash sell in 2022 near the bottom. But they were holding Bitcoin. Their dollar cost average was much higher before that wash sell. And they still accumulate less Bitcoin. So it does seem to affect their DCA cost from their calculation. But it's not the real DCA when you calculate all the Bitcoin. Because they didn't liquidate everything. They sold a lot of Bitcoin at the time and bought more back up at a higher price. And they said they sold the bottom to repay a loan at a cheaper price. let's say you're in a losing position, right? And you want to make your bags look better to investors. What do you do at the end of the year? You just sell everything and buy it back up a little bit more expensive. That will make your DCA seem different to the investors who didn't pay attention to your costs before. The number of Bitcoin will change. The number of Bitcoin or Dogecoin or whatever crypto will change if you do that wash sale and you don't get to buy it back at a good price though. But if the price doesn't really move, not much slippage, you'll have the same balance. People will look at that balance and be like, wow, his dollar cost average is really low. But they're going to ignore that past data where you were buying at 48,000, 50,000, and not taking profit at 69,000 before it came back down to 16,000. So it's really manipulating the DCA formula there in front of investors, and I think it's a little bit shady. Almost constitutes as manipulation of investors.
Got the big dumps coming in here.
What's wrong with Doge?
Doge is not as downtrending as Bitcoin though. Doge gets the bigger bounces. Like our last Bitcoin bounce from the down here was about 1.8 to 2%. Doge did a bounce one time for about 4%. And then the second bounce from double bottom was over 5%. So Doge actually bouncing better than Bitcoin here, which probably would make investors more bullish on Doge than Bitcoin if we're coming down, because Bitcoin was also closer to all-time high than Dogecoin was. Dogecoin was very far from all-time high. But going back here, like some of these green blocks, you can see like these bounces. It doesn't look like much until you zoom in and measure. And then when you measure like this green block here at 14.84, it bounced up about 2.9%. Bitcoin, usually you want at least 0.3%. Doge going usually at least more than 0.6%. But some of these recently have been over 2% bounces. And the thing is, if a market maker, even though Bitcoin is pushing down, they could grab this Doge liquidations for a very cheap discount. Dogecoin costs less money to liquidate positions than Bitcoin does on the upside. On the downside, Bitcoin can liquidate a larger number of dollar value positions because the price is so high. Since the price is so high, it's very easy for Bitcoin to drop by $5,000 to $10,000. Dogecoin can't drop by $10,000. It's not even at $1 right now. So the most it can drop is by about, 12.9 cents? Okay, it's not that bad. But if you're holding one Bitcoin, it could drop by 60,000. Someone could get more wrecked by holding one Bitcoin and drop than holding one Doge. So the exchanges would probably rather hold Doge than a lot of Bitcoin if Bitcoin's dropping. That's why I tried to show you guys the other day, these big players, they were trying to offer you to stake your Bitcoin and Ethereum at the top. That's how you know it was the top. They wanted to sell your Bitcoin and Ethereum and give you a low APY that they may or may not pay you back. But if Bitcoin goes too low before the halving, it will probably give retail investors another good dip. About one more month, we have the halving on April 20th. We're on day number 28 out of 52 of this bearish trend that I'm predicting. Things will probably start getting better for us around that day 52. Doge probably get better even before day 52. Like Doge has Easter. And you know Elon probably going to do an Easter tweet for Doge. And for 420, probably get an Elon tweet about Doge 420 as well.
Oh yeah, give it to us.
So the strategy is for Bitcoin, just watch it go down until 420 and see how the halving reacts. But I have a feeling that a lot of these mining companies, if they're only going to get half the reward, and if it's cheaper to buy Bitcoin than it is to mine Bitcoin, are they going to use that electricity to mine, or are they going to use the money to buy? It's a tough one. And it may be that transition between these mining companies from mining to like traders. It happens a lot of the time. And then you have coins like HETS that were down significantly from their tops. And then it was breaking back up. And the moment it started breaking back up, when it broke that 1.4 cents, within hours, Richard Hart tweeted that Ethereum HETS is not the real HETS, that Pulsechain HETS is real HETS. And it made the price drop down by over 80%. Just from one person tweeting. People pulled liquidity from EHETS and put it into PHETS. But then it had it already bounced double from some of those bottoms. At one point it bounced up from some of the bottoms like 70%, 80%. So it's also very interesting to see EHETS down there, because if Richard Hart did something like that on a tweet, imagine if he did the inverse tweet. Yeah, Peter Schiff's onto something. Look, Peter Schiff's onto something. This. So let's go to Twitter, and I gotta be very careful on Twitter. Oh boy, this was his tweet. He said it's been over 3 hours of market coverage and CNBC still hasn't mentioned Bitcoin or their favorite stock, MicroStrategy, once. Bitcoin ETFs they pumped are down 6% and MicroStrategy is down 16%. It's actually down even more. CNBC is keeping its viewers in the dark while Bitcoin whales quietly unload their stacks. Look, we're even under 1260 right now. This thing is bleeding. MicroStrategy is dropping faster than Bitcoin price. You know why? Because Bitcoin didn't borrow money. Michael Saylor borrowed money. We hit down over 31% so far. Only took 5 days. It would not be a problem if he did not borrow money, though. But he borrowed the money. If he bought it with his own money, he would be in a better position. But he borrowed money from people that probably can move the price of Bitcoin up or down however they want to. I would never loan any exchange my Bitcoin, because let's explore the Celsius lawsuit case. Judges in America allow Celsius to repay their customers back in dollars instead of Bitcoin, and the dollar value of Bitcoin at the bottom of the dip versus at the top at current price. So those people that loaned the Bitcoin, they only got about $15,000 to $16,000 back per Bitcoin they loaned the exchanges. Even if they loaned the exchange, Bitcoin was at $60,000 before. So you can't loan these guys your Bitcoin, because if they go bankrupt, a judge is going to settle for cash and at a lower value of Bitcoin. It's going to be brutal. And how can you even calculate the real value of Bitcoin if there's not enough liquidity for the whales to exit? Some would argue the real value of Bitcoin is much lower.
Well, this is Grayscale again. Yesterday they sold over 600 million, 600 Bitcoin.
We have a good chance to see BTC in the 61s here, and that will put Doge in the low 12s.
Well, Doge could pump while Bitcoin's dipping. It's done it before inversely.
Yeah, no, I know.
And it's because there's the direct Dogecoin Bitcoin pair that people could swap out. If they think Doge is going to become bullish, they'll just swap their Bitcoin for Doge really fast. Boom. and it will cause liquidity to buy up Doge on other pairs.
Yeah, I've been paying attention to it. We'll see here.
How are you? I don't know. But think about Peter Schiff also. Like, he was also warning people not to buy Bitcoin at $50. So a lot of Bitcoin maxis will not even take what he says to consideration when it comes to trading. People can be wrong some days and right other days. Just because they're wrong many of their days doesn't mean they're going to be wrong every time. They might be right a few times. Happened to Jim Cramer. He was right a few times. But that reminds me, he took a picture of the CEO of NVIDIA yesterday. Let's see if NVIDIA stock suffered from that picture. Oh boy. Really? What the fuck? NVIDIA stock down over $20 from when the CEO has that picture with Jim Cramer. Oh, that's not good. If I'm the CEO of any company in the world, I'm not taking a picture beside Jim Cramer. Don't do it. Just because of the internet memes and stuff, don't do it. Your stock will probably get some negative sentiment for a little while. Oh, shit. But there's companies trying to sell you Bitcoin right now before the halving. Like, why don't these companies just buy the Bitcoin? Why do they want you to buy it?
Logic.
Really? Look at this. I think Doge is more bullish than Bitcoin in this scenario. But I think a lot of this pullback also happened a little bit before Japan started their rate hikes. But yeah, they increased the interest rates in Japan. I really hope, though, that when Bitcoin goes to 40,000, that it